So-Called is sponsored by LoveBoiseParks.org, which donates 50% of all profits to support, promote, and preserve open spaces in Boise, Idaho. Use promo code SOCALLED for 10% off all your purchases at LoveBoiseParks.org.
When I was looking for a career move, every time I did, and I had this one little thread of, that's the thing I think I want to do. I ended up doing that every time I made a career move, and I do think that that's what led me to this place where I have a very dynamic background. I love my job, but I didn't always trust it, and a lot of times I had a lot of heartache over decisions I had made in terms of career choices.
This is Mark Wojcik, and I'm wondering, how's your so-called career? Welcome to So-Called, the podcast that explores the why and how of work. On today's episode, we meet Megan Blanchard, Training and Organizational Development Coordinator for the City of Boise. When we met, I asked Megan what her group and role mean for an organization as large and varied as the city.
We're not human resources, we are resources for humans. It is training, it's organizational development, it's culture development. I would say it's mostly on a large scope, looking at culture developments, and then on in culture kind of progression, but also looking maybe more specifically at leadership development and training, team development and training, personal development and training, as well as organizational development. We are creating workshops and creating experiences for employees at the City of Boise that will kind of enhance culture.
Tell me, what do you enjoy about the work that you do?
Oh my gosh, everything. This is my dream job. Yeah. This is my dream job. I love it so much. I honestly think that the thing I love the most is that I have the ability in my role to impact people beyond just work. So what we look to do, and the programs we do, the workshops we do, the interactions we have with employees, I think really transcend work and into people's lives. And we are helping people thrive. The word that we use all the time is thrive. We want people to have the ability to thrive at work. And when you can thrive at work, your ability to thrive at home becomes better and vice versa. And so the fact that I get to impact people's lives in and outside of these walls is very cool.
Now, I know you said you love everything about the job.
I do.
So you told me what you love most. What is your least favorite thing then to do?
Oh,
or the hardest thing to do?
Oh, man. Oh, boy. I even thought about this. I was like, what is the hardest part of my job? And this has nothing, I don't even think, to do with the job, but mostly just to do with me and how I work. I'm a very creative person. I work best in front of a whiteboard and collaborating with people. So when I have to be in a space where I'm solo creating things on my computer for hours after hours, that's hard. And I do think that that's a reality of jobs, that if we're thinking about people who are entering the workforce, I think sometimes we like to think that everything is sunshine and rainbows, and there's not going to be hard parts of any job. And even though I love every aspect of my job, there's still times where I'm chained to my desk doing stuff and grinding through work. And
and
that's
harder. Yeah.
I mean, there will be little tasks that come up that are like my frogs that I kind of put to the back of the plate forever. And for whatever reason, but it's never because it's never because I don't find it meaningful or I don't find it purposeful, which I think is big.
One of the efforts Megan is most proud of when it comes to leadership development at the city is the Connect Boise program, a journey that began with a listening tour.
So when we look at culture, we're looking on a broad scope of the entire organization. And a couple of years ago, we kind of launched into this cultural journey, and it all started with we have what we call a listening tour every couple of years. We listened and asked people what's going well, what's not. Some of the big themes that came out were communication needs to improve, development needs to improve. I think our supervisors should be better trained, and supervisors said, I think we should be better trained. And so it was this kind of a conglomeration of several different qualities that employees said these need to change at the city. And so we said, okay, great, let's change it. And actually we did something that I think is extremely innovative, especially for a city government. Have you heard of the sprint process?
Yes.
So we did a design sprint to overhaul our performance management process. And so before we had an annual review, it was stale and old, like any other company that just does it once a year. Here you go, meets expectations, see you later. And so we said, that's not working. And actually we got a group of employees, so we got a couple people from every department, and we have an extremely diverse workforce at the city. Extremely diverse, from I put tickets on cars to I'm an engineer to I'm a policeman. So we've got very diverse. So we got people into a room and said, okay, great, let's work through this design sprint process and let's come up with something that is actually more in line with the culture that we want to be. And so from there, they created this whole new thing that is called Connect Boise now. It encompasses performance management in terms of like an actual system and process, but it bleeds so far beyond that. The analogy I've been using is that our old performance management system was like a rotary telephone. It does one thing, it calls people. And then Connect Boise now is like an iPhone, where you can do so many things with it. It's not just a review, it's how we interact with people, our peers, our bosses, people who report to us. It's how often we meet, what we talk about. It's really pretty neat.
How long has it been in place?
Connect Boise officially launched citywide just in January.
Okay.
So it's very new.
This is year one for this?
This is year one. We did a pilot last year.
Okay.
So we did a pilot with our Public Works Department, which was a pretty good sample size because they, A, are a very large department, but B, have an extremely diverse workforce even just within their department.
Okay.
So we were able to pilot it with them. They helped us work out some kinks, implement some things that were better, and it was wonderful.
What's the response been?
It's actually been really positive.
Yeah.
Of course, there are some critiques, and there's some people to bring along, of course. But it's been very positive.
Yeah.
We actually we have something that we call a pulse check. So we've been seeing very good data come back from that in terms of a lot of people have been meeting with their supervisors, which was not happening before.
Yeah.
So now they're meeting monthly, and also we've been seeing. I think it's the last couple of months. It's been somewhere around 96-97% feel that it's at least somewhat beneficial, with more people thinking it's extremely or highly beneficial.
Do you have like a next big thing you're thinking about or working on or planning, whether it's career-wise or personally, that you want to do?
I think what's very cool about what we launched is it's like a very big umbrella that has pushed the bounds of what I think most people thought previously could be done here. So within that, what I'm personally working on right now is I'm working on all of our ongoing development options and looking at what type of opportunities are we providing internally for employees to develop and grow. And I think what is very interesting and unique about our approach to this is we're not looking at technical skills, like we're not going to offer an Excel workshop, we're not going to do this. Instead, we are building and creating offerings that are supporting people thinking differently and thinking better. And an example of one that I'm kind of building off of right now is we offer a 90-day development planning session, like a workshop. And we tell people, come in, work goal, personal goal, doesn't matter, whatever you want to work on, we'll help provide some structure. And I think most people come in and think, yeah, I'm going to create a plan today. And instead we dig very deep into their personal values, their goals, why it is that this is so important to you, and an example of like, what do you know about yourself that might prevent you from reaching this goal? So we really dig deep, and instead of just saying, oh, here's some tactics I think that you could use to work on time management, we find out, oh, the reason time management is hard for you is because you have low self-confidence. Let's work on that. Yeah. So we dig very deep, and it's been very impactful and very rewarding so far.
Megan's diverse background has a common thread of being people-focused, and she draws on all of her collective experience for her work in the organizational development field.
My path is very, very different to getting here. I actually got a marketing degree from Boise State. I thought that I would do something in marketing. Out of college, I did the executive management program at Target. So I was a manager at Target for about 3 years, and I was locally here. Okay,
that's what I was going to ask. Was it Minneapolis or something?
No, it was here. So it's and I know it sounds like, oh, you worked at Target, but they have a very like robust, high level like executive leadership tracked kind of thing. So I did that for a couple of years. And when I was looking to leave retail, I thought, okay, well, I just don't like this industry as much as I used to, and I'm ready for something different. And I was thinking about, what do I love the most about my job? And so when I was thinking about what I loved, it truly was developing leaders. I had about 7 supervisors that reported to me, and I really loved developing them to, whether it was build their own skills, better run their teams. I just loved that aspect of it. And at the time, I thought, who does that? It's HR. So I thought, well, shoot, I should go into HR.
Yeah.
So I tried to look for something that was, kind of a good intersection between HR and marketing. And so I landed on recruiting, and then I was a recruiter at St. Al's for about a year and a half. While I was there, realized that, I don't know that this was what I was hoping it would be. Just within a couple months, got a little bored, for lack of better words, of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I liked it, but another reality check of jobs is I thought recruiting, I'll be out at career fairs, I'll be talking to people, I'll be doing this. And instead I was reviewing probably 200 applications a day just at my desk looking at the computer. Making phone calls.
The worst case scenario that you just described about being chained to your desk.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
I was sitting there reading applications, just never ending. And so, I didn't like that. But while I was there, I still think I had that inkling of I want to develop people. And so while I was at a career fair, someone asked me, do you have an internship program? And I turned to the girl next to me and I said, do we? Because I was new. And we didn't. And so I proposed to the leadership at St. Alphonsus that we create an internship program. And we did, which was really cool. So I was able to propose, create, develop, and kind of implement the first internship program, summer program at St. Al's. So then I went on and I was a HR business partner for a title company for a bit. And while I was there, that's when I really kind of, through research, found that, organizational development is actually a career field. And that is what I want to do. So I think I was chasing this dream of what I wanted to do, but not really knowing what it was. But the whole time, and intentionally, I was building the skills and building the experience along the way to be ready for this role when it was here.
What advice would you give others considering a career change?
I think what I think successfully led me to make several very vast career changes was doing my research, and I'll expand upon that. I know people can say, do your research, and maybe that's look at their website. But I, especially when it came to coming to the city for me was a big career change. It was a leap into something I knew I was good at and I knew I would love, but I didn't have the best experience on paper. I certainly had never worked in government. So I reached out to not only people that I knew, but a lot of people I didn't know. People that I randomly had met somewhere, or I knew someone who knew them, who worked at the city, worked in this type of work. I reached out and asked, what's it like to work there? But then I also reached out to a lot of people who work in this type of role for every industry I could find in Boise. And I even actually started a group to bring those people in so we could meet monthly and talk about organizational development. So that way I could see, is this something I really love? Is this something I really want? Is this something I want as badly as I think I do? And I did a lot of one-on-one conversations. I met a lot of people for coffee. And not only did that make a difference in my ability to speak to my skills in a way that showed, yes, I know what I'm doing and I can do this role. But also I think that it actually helped me get this job. Part of the reason that I am here is because within this group that I started to network, there wasn't a group to network specifically with organizational development people, so I started one. Yeah. And one of the people in the group was someone that I knew, and she went to college with my boss, and then we got connected, and that was kind of my connection to this role. But yeah, I think it goes much beyond just, I think I'll apply or I think I'll look at their website.
What advice would you give to somebody who wants to get into your line of work?
I do think that organizational development is a very specialized part of human resources. And what I have found in the people I've interviewed in terms of asking what they do in their job and wondering if it's the type of field I should pursue, is there isn't necessarily a perfect career path or a perfect degree that puts you in organizational development. I do think that for the most part, everyone I've met who works in this field is very passion and purpose driven. They have this like deep burning passion for people, and they want to see people not only progress in their careers, but progress in their lives. And so I do think in order to work in organizational development and to be fulfilled working in this area, have to be someone who is very people focused, and also I think very adaptable. It seems like every other week there's some new study and some new research about psychology, and I think even what organizational development meant 10 years ago has shifted even to now, and I think it's I think when you think strictly just about organizational development, those two words, a lot of it is looking at organizational structure, how do we interact, what walls and barriers we need to break down, and that is certainly a big part of our job. But where I think organizational development has come to and where it's so rooted now is that a lot of times those barriers and those structures and all of those things can be broken or were created by people. And so if we're trying to break down barriers, but we're not looking at the people, we might be focusing on the wrong thing. So it has to be very people focused.
Looking back on your career, what advice would you give your younger self?
You know, there was many times that I did not trust the path I was on, and I thought, I made the wrong move. This is not what I want to be doing. And I do think that as I look back, I think that maybe something I unintentionally did correctly was instead of chasing what I thought was the perfect end of the road all the time, I thought that's what it was at the time, but I actually used this metaphor when I was interviewing for this job, was that I just wanted to be, I felt like I was charging up a mountain, but I wanted to make sure I was on the right mountain. Like, I don't care where I'm at on the mountain. I just want to make sure I'm on the right path, the right mountain, whatever it is. And so I guess to like trust a little bit in myself, that when I was looking for a career move, every time I did, and I had this one little like thread of, that's the thing I think I want to do. Like when I was looking to leave Target, and I said, I just love developing leaders. I'm going to try to follow that as closely as I could. I ended up doing that every time I made a career move, and I do think that that's what led me to this place where I have a very dynamic background. I love my job, but I didn't always trust it, and a lot of times I had a lot of heartache over decisions I had made in terms of career choices. I actually had someone in my last job, I was talking to them, I was only there for a year. I very quickly realized, not the right industry, not the right role, not what I want to be doing. And I was talking to someone about it, and they said, you know what, you just need to grow where you're planted. And I'd said, I'm with you, but I don't like this garden box. Like, yeah. I'm not like I don't like where I'm planted. So I do think there's something to be said for growing where you're planted, but also finding the spot where you want to be planted.
But also realizing, you can be repotted.
Yeah. Yes.
I continue on the garden, the garden metaphor, I guess. So Called is sponsored by loveboiseparks.org, which donates 50% of all profits to support, promote, and preserve open spaces in Boise, Idaho. Use promo code SOCALLED for 10% off all your purchases at loveboiseparks.org. If you enjoyed today's episode, please let us know. Subscribe and leave us a review. So Called is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and wherever you get your podcasts.